Hi YouTube, this is a video about temperature living in a step van in the Canadian winter. So it's not really full winter yet, but I really have had to change a lot of the things that I do in order to accommodate the colder temperatures. So here I bought this handy thing and it's right by the corner of my bed. My head is right here on this pillow when I go to sleep. And right now I've woken up at 7 degrees. And the humidity here is pretty high. I don't really understand the humidity all that much, but there's this little indicator here which says that it's very wet. That's not good. You get problems with condensation when it's that high. So what I will do when I leave, it's first thing in the morning here. You can see it's actually 7:50, not 8:50. I haven't moved this over from daylight savings time. Is I will open windows to try and get some circulation because it doesn't matter how cold it gets in here when I'm away. And then, of course, at night, the wood stove will help with this. So I thought it would be interesting to take you guys through for the day and just sort of check in here and see what this is like. I will tell you right now, 7 degrees is pretty damn good. That's the warmest day that I've had pretty much in several weeks. This is the warmest it's been when I've woken up. Usually it's closer to 0. It's even been a couple days where it was below that. So I've been to school and I've come back. It's around 4 o'clock and the temperature in here is 5 degrees. I just looked at the little thermometer there. And despite the fact that I left the roof vent open and a door cracked, the humidity is still, I think it said 66. It's still very much in the wet zone. The best way I've found to deal with that is to start a fire, but I'm not going to do that yet because I'm trying to basically conserve wood. So usually what I do is I will wait till the sun goes down, till I'm ready to sort of become less active. Then I will actually start the fire and get it up to a warmer temperature. Usually try and hit at least around 12, 13 degrees in here, but not always. We'll see how that goes. And then I sort of let that die out over the rest of the night. Right now, and this is pretty typical, I've got on my mid layer here. So this is a down jacket. It's quite warm. I have a sweater and then a t-shirt on underneath of that. And that's just to keep me nice and warm. I've got boots on right now. They're very warm. And I just wear those in here because it's such a small space. I'm tracking dirt and wood chips and stuff from the fire all the time. So there's just no way of keeping this place, the floor clean. So I don't mind wearing boots inside. I've hung up this blanket here. It's 2 layers, but as you can see here, it's a pretty good shot there where the window is. It's full of holes. It doesn't have that much insulation value. A quilt or something like that might do a better job. Basically, my idea here is to keep some heat in the bed area. So at night, when I'm in there, I stay a little bit warmer. I'm not sure how much this actually works. It does seem to have a bit of a difference. Maybe a couple degrees, not very much. It's now about 6 o'clock and I've gotten to a point where I kind of want to settle down a little bit and I'm getting kind of cold, not moving around too much anymore. So I've just started this little fire here. I'm getting it going and hopefully that will raise the temperature a bit in the room. It is now 7 p.m. and I've checked the thermometer, which is on the other side of this bit of wood here, and it read 14 degrees, which means it's probably a little bit more, the temperature is higher where I am here, sitting in front of the fireplace. That's sort of over, by the bed area, but it's still pretty comfortable here. And it does take a long time to get up to that. It basically, for the first half hour, it raised the temperature of the thermometer maybe 3 degrees. And then after that, it sort of gets going and really starts heating things up. I used up all the wood that I'd sort of allotted and cut up for tonight. So it's 7 o'clock. This is probably going to be around the peak of the temperature. And from here on out, it will just sort of decline. And usually I go to sleep at around 11 o'clock. So it's got about 4 hours before I go to bed to sort of die down in temperature. Really briefly, going to talk about why I'm not using the buddy heater. I just find it really annoying. And the wet heat isn't that nice of a feeling, to be honest. Basically, what I find really annoying about it is constantly having to refill those little green propane tanks. I could get it hooked up to the big one outside, but that would cost me probably a fair amount to add on like a T-section to that tank and then put out a hose that I could attach to. I was using it. Yeah, I just don't want to deal with the hassle of that right now, to be honest. So when I do have green propane tanks full, I usually keep it right here, and really I only turn it on right in the morning when I go, like if it's really cold, if it's below 0, you know, and I'm desperate to get out of bed and get changed, I'll fire it up and just sort of stand right in front of it while I get changed and then turn it off. I don't really have, it's not enough to really make any effect on the size of this room, which is kind of funny. For a lot of people doing van life, I'm sure it'd be fine, but this is just such a big space. It's like it's just over 80 square feet in here. So it's a fair amount of space to try and heat with that thing. It's just not a great way to do it either, especially with the humidity and condensation problems that it creates. I did try it kind of behind the curtain a little bit, and it worked okay, but I much prefer the wood heat or no heat at all. All right, it's now 7:34 p.m. and the temperature in the van, according to this thermometer, is 19.5 degrees Celsius. That's not bad. That's generally about as hot as it gets in here after running the fire for a little bit. It sort of gets there after the fire's died down, which is sort of interesting. So the wood stove is what I use to really heat up the van at night. But as I've sort of mentioned before, it's not really my main goal for heating. My main goal for heating is really insulation, in the terms of I've got this really good sleeping bag here. It's down. I don't know the exact rating. It used to be my dad's. I've now inherited it. It's very nice and warm and cozy inside of it. But it can still be a little bit cold if, you know, it's getting down to like -5 at night, which is where this comes in. This is my down duvet with the cover that I made, and I will put that over top of the sleeping bag. Now really, this really helps with my feet. I don't have the greatest circulation down there, and this really helps. I notice for sure when my sleeping bag sticks out sometimes from the bottom there, that my feet are cold in the morning, whereas if they stay under the whole night, I am nice and cozy. Well, it is 8:45 right now. I'll probably be up for about another 2 hours. Right now, it is 18 degrees, and it's worth mentioning that I have lost some humidity. I'm now at 57%. I'm partway between wet and comfort on that little scale there. Again, I don't really know what the humidity numbers mean all that much. Normally, I like it to get a little bit drier in here. I didn't quite have the fire going as long as sometimes I do, so that could be a factor. I'll also try changing up which windows and I keep open during the day, but as long as I'm not really getting any really bad condensation problems, I think I've mostly solved that. Maybe real quick, I should talk about what condensation problems I have been having. The first one, there's two, is kind of interesting. All of the little screws in the ceiling, they sometimes get like a little bit of snow frost on them. Looks really weird. So I want to show you something really weird here. There's this condensation buildup. It's kind of like snow, I guess. Yeah, but it's on these screws that go along. They're keeping these ceiling boards in place. It's only this one row. Everything from there back, like this one's fine. Actually, there's a little bit on that one and that one. It's happened a couple times when it got really, really cold, like below freezing for a while. Yeah, it looks really bizarre. I try and wipe them off, but I don't think it's that big an issue. Really, that's because that screw is going, you know, through the wood and directly into the metal, the aluminum struts that basically hold up the ceiling. There's nothing I can do about that. So those screws are the same temperature as whatever it is outside. So that's number one. Number two is an actual problem, and that is that the table that I had under the bed actually I'd pull it out and it would be wet. And a couple times I figured, well, maybe I spilled something I didn't notice. But really what it is that condensation builds up in the space underneath of the mattress. And that's really bad. It's a common problem for a lot of people who say have their mattress on the floor. And I thought about this when I was building the van. I thought, okay, well, I'll make sure that I make the slats so that there'll be room for air to go. And then I didn't think about it. I added a table directly underneath of those slats, completely negating any airflow that they created. So I was having a real problem with condensation building up. Like it would be a puddle. It would be the best way to describe it. It kind of got to the point where it'd be beyond condensation. So I'd pull it out when I left the house, but I wasn't very good at doing that. And so I've just decided I'm just going to take the table out. I took it out, and that way there's airflow there. Hopefully that's enough, because man, I don't want to have to deal with this problem. I really don't want mold on my mattress. That's not, well, I guess it'd be on the mattress cover, but still. And you know what? I can deal without using that table. I can use my desk if I really need a table in here. You know, I can eat in the front of the truck, but it's just easier for me to just take it out. If I really need the table, I can just put it back in the slats. It's not a problem. It just slides in and out. So yeah, that's really what the moisture concerns have been for me. I haven't had really any problems on the windows or anything like that. Yeah, that one problem under the bed, hopefully that's been solved, but it'll probably take me a little bit to see if that's actually the case. Well, it's now 11:12 p.m. and it's 13 degrees in here. You can see I've put on my down hoodie here in preparation to go to sleep, so I can get up in the morning and go to school. That's pretty typical of what my life is like now that things are colder. Hopefully I can sort of continue this trend even when the days continue to get colder, which they will. Right now there's not really snow on the ground or anything like that, so I might revisit this topic once there is snow and see how that affects things. But I don't know, I thought maybe this would be interesting for you guys to see how I'm coping, how I'm dealing with it. And so far it's pretty comfortable.